Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Assalamu alaikum, good morning, good evening. We welcome you on the behalf of Apna YPC and Apna Merit Committee and Mr. Alumni of North America for joining today's session. I think today's session is very important as a physician, because as a physician, we need to be able to critique the evidence that exists and apply to patient care. But most recently, it has become important for residency applications too, especially with USMLE Step 1 being pass-fail and also CS not being there. So there is always a need for IMGs to show something more on their resume. And to have this discussion today, we have a very esteemed panel of researchers who are very well established, very well accomplished. In preparation of this webinar, we have pre-recorded a presentation that should be available on my YouTube channel. And I will share the link here in a little bit. If you have not done it, listened to it previously, once you're done with it, please listen to it. It was recorded by Dr. Usman Ali Akbar. A housekeeping item, if you have a question, please post it in the QA tool. But if you have any other questions that does not pertain to the topic, you can, just put it in the chat. We'll be monitoring both of them. And if you don't know how to use QA tool, just put it in the chat and I will try to address them. Let me go through introduction of speakers and then we'll cover what will be the format for today's topic. I will start with Dr. Faz Anwar. Dr. Faz Anwar graduated from Rawalpindi Medical College and completed FCPS in internal medicine at Holy Family Hospital before moving to US. Following his training in internal medicine, hem-onc and bone marrow transplantation, he worked at University of Arizona before transitioning to Cleveland Clinic. His treatment focuses on treatment of plasma cell disorders, including routine care, transplantation, CAR T cells therapy. For over 10 years, he has been involved in clinical research, teaching and mentoring young medical graduates. His philosophy is to encourage and motivate his mentees and to strategize in a way to empower through skill building and facilitate networking among the trainees. So thank you very much for Dr. Anwar for being here. Our next panelist would be Dr. Erbaz bin Riaz. He has not joined yet, or if he's in attendance, I will promote him to panelist. Dr. Riaz is a genitourinary oncologist who specializes in biomedical informatics. Dr. Riaz completed his medical school as valedictorian at Nistar Medical University and received an Endeavour Award to complete Masters in Clinical Epidemiology at University of Sydney, Australia. He completed his internal medicine training at University of Arizona, Tucson, and hem-onc training and at Mayo Clinic, Rochester. He is a Mayo Clinic scholar, Burt and LM fellow at Harvard Medical School, and a clinical informatics fellow at Mass General Hospital. Dr. Riaz's research interests include cancer bioinformatics, digital transformation of cancer care, living evidence synthesis, and all assisted electronic health records. So thank you, Dr. Riaz, whenever you are able to join us. Next one is Dr. Zubair Khan. Dr. Zubair Khan is a staff gastroenterologist in Mercy Clinic East Communities. He completed his gastroenterology fellowship from the University of Texas at Houston. He earned his medical school from Nistar Medical College, Multan. He completed his internal medicine training at University of Toledo, where he also served as chief resident for internal medicine. Dr. Khan is board certified in internal medicine, obesity medicine, and gastroenterology. Dr. Khan has an interest in outcome research and evidence synthesis. He has published several studies in reputable gastroenterology journals with notable citation and has presented numerous abstracts in national and international meetings and has won several awards. Dr. Khan serves as an elected member of Educational Committee of American College of Gastroenterology. So welcome, Dr. Zubair Khan, and thank you for being here. And last but not least, Dr. Usman Ali Akbar. He's a research associate at North Shore University Hospital, New York. He has U.S. Clinical research experience of more than 2 years with 35 plus publication. He has presented at several conferences. He is an incoming PGY1 at West Virginia University Camden Clark Hospital. He's excited to join his career in medicine in US, and he aims to continue to provide high quality medical care to his patients while exploring new research avenues to improve treatment strategies and mentoring residency applicants through social media platforms. And my name is Dr. Sadiq Naveed. I'm a psychiatry program director at Eastern Connecticut Health Network. Was past chair of UPNA YPC, and currently working at serving here and as a member at the pleasure of our current chair, Dr. Numan Ashraf. Just to underscore the accomplishments of this group of panelists, this group has published more than probably 800 publications, peer-reviewed publications. So they have a wealth of knowledge on the topic. For the format of our webinar today, I have some questions that I prepared, so our panelists can cover them, which I felt like were important. And after that, we'll go into the Q&A session. Our first part is going to take roughly about 20 to 25 minutes. So I will start with Dr. Usman Ali Akbar. Many times we are asked that, how to write an appropriate letter of intent. This is your first impression. So, and how to prepare a research CV. So I'll let Dr. Usman Ali Akbar talk about it for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll go to another area that we can quickly discuss. Usman, mic is yours.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Usman Ali Akbar. Thank you so much, Dr. Sadiq Naveed, APNA, and Nana YPC for arranging this webinar. I believe that I am just kind of I think, very small figure among such a great pool of panelists. Dr. Faiz Anwar, he's my first research mentor, and all of there are other people, Dr. Zubair Khan, and Dr. Zain Asad, and Dr. Ibaz bin Riaz. They have exceptional experience of research and mentorship, and I'm just a budding researcher, and I have a lot to learn, I believe. So I'm going to cut it short, and I'm just going to describe. So this is a model letter of intent. It can be improved. It can be, there are some few additions, or you can, kind of delete some of these from, if you haven't done USMLE exam, you can skip that. So I'm going to share a model letter of intent. So always address the principal investigator or any person you are trying to contact in the US by their last name. Dear Dr. Naveed, or dear Dr. Anwar, dear Dr. Khan, or dear Dr. Ibad bin Rasipara. You can either mention the full name or go with the last name. This is very important because many graduates and many students, they kind of, I think they don't pay attention to this part, because this is how you are kind of addressing the other person. So I can say that my name is Usman Ali Akbar. I'm currently, let's suppose I was working at University of Louisville as a research intern. So I'm an ACFMG graduate from Pakistan. I'm currently working as clinical research coordinator at University of Louisville. And I'm excited to learn more about, let's suppose I'm applying for my current position, which is Department of Gastroenterology at North Shore University Hospital. So how would I direct my email to my current mentor would be, so I have explored your research profile, on LinkedIn or ResearchGate or Google Scholar, and you have vast experience in esophagus screening. And I am the kind of person who wants to explore the field of gastroenterology. And I believe that this publication, you can cite this publication, your recent publication. It was kind of very passionate. I'm passionate applicant towards gastroenterology. It felt like I'm really interested in research work. Because if I'm a mentor, or if I am a principal investigator, I believe that I will love that my people are reading my work, right? Everyone here who is a researcher, they love when people cite their work. They love when people appreciate their work. And I would love, okay, like this person interested, let's read on. So, and then I will say, okay, so I have this experience, and I believe that I maybe are kind of a perfect fit for this job. So I would say that I have, let's suppose I have been working in, like I mentioned, at University of Louisville. So I would say I have almost 1 year experience of clinical research at University of Louisville. I have been involved. So I was working at Division of Infectious Diseases. So I was working on COVID-19 projects. So I would say that I was involved in patient enrollment, patient consenting, just like scheduling their follow-up, phone calls, and how to go for IRB approval, and how to write a grant. So these are kind of, you are showcasing your talents, showcasing your skills. Okay, so because I'm not applying for residency and applying for research positions, so this is very important. They are looking for your they're looking for your research skills, not your USMLE score, not your other. It may be a plus if you are score 250, 260, but they are not focusing on that. So let's move on. And then I would say, like I have, let's suppose I'm applying for basic lab research. So I would say, like I have even I have experience in Pakistan, I did some lab work at XYZ, let's say Shaukat Khanam or some other institutes. So I have gathered the skill, I have done some courses, and I believe that will be a perfect fit for your position. And then I would share my credentials. So let's suppose if I've done USMLE, I would say I've passed my step 1. Either I have scored XYZ or this number in step 2, or I'm planning to take step 2. And then I would say this is my clinical experience. I don't think so it's important for research, but it is kind of a good thing to have US clinical experience, like in form of electives or observership, because this kind of showcases that this person is coming from experience, right? So then the most important is your research publication. Let's suppose Dr. Anwar he plans to hire me, and I tell him that, okay, Dr. Anwar, I have the experience of writing manuscripts, writing abstracts, presenting posters at multiple conferences. So I'm the head of my lab. And what I would do is like, oh, this person has already experienced in these kind of skill set, right? So why wouldn't I go for this person? And then I would say that, oh, I have experience in Microsoft Excel. I know that Microsoft Outlook is a very kind of redundant part of the skill set, but it is, I believe it's kind of most important, because most people, they don't know how to formulate a proper professional email. Your whole communication in US is through email. So, you should know how to write a email. So, and then I can go, okay, so I have written systematic reviews. So I have experience. I have used R programming language, or I've used Raveman, or I can say that I have these kind of skill sets in my profile. So this is kind of the model letter of intent. And then be very polite, be very humble. You can share your accomplishments and you can share your profile, but be very humble, because you are on the other side. They want to hire you, but if you feel like, oh, like I have this much score and I think I'm a very good candidate, I don't think so. This is a good strategy for either for research or either for residency. So this is kind of a model letter of intent. Just kind of, please make it kind of a very precise. I don't think so. It should be more than 2 or 3 very small paragraphs, because then, like you lose interest. And I can speak from my experience that my PI, he's very busy, right? He does endoscopy and every day, and his schedule is full of patients. So let's suppose he gets an email and it's like a long thread. He won't be able to read. He won't be able to even open the resume. So I don't think so. Your effort would be kind of, it will go in vain, right? So this is just an example of that. And I'm going to share the model kind of resume. I'm going to share my resume. I changed some. Just kidding. So this was a resume I kind of applied to multiple institutes. I was applying to everywhere. So I would suggest you should do the same because of the visa situation. As I talked in my presentation, most institutes, the problem is the visa sponsorship. They would do, but you have to be kind of an exceptional candidate for them to, because it kind of involves a lot of paperwork. They even some institute, they even offer H1 as well. But the problem is the paperwork. And if you are not kind of, even okay candidate, why would they waste their effort and time in sponsoring a visa? So I believe that this is very important that you apply to multiple big institutes, so I'm in Northwell. So I applied in Northwell. I was interviewed at NYU as well. I was interviewed at, multiple other institutes, at Cedars-Sinai as well. So apply everywhere. So it's just like you're going for residency. So you're as an IMG, and as we know that how much is the visa struggle, right? So we have to apply broadly. So I can, I have kind of shared with multiple people that I think other panelists would be able to highlight the use of a picture in your resume. I used it, but so most people, they recommend not to use it. It's totally fine. I think it worked for me, but maybe some people, because of the kind of the professional, there's the most professional resume, they don't include the image. So maybe, they won't kind of see it in a good way, right? So I would say, okay, I'm currently working as a clinical research coordinator at University of Louisville, Division of Infectious Diseases. My research is this. So I have experience. So I'm looking for a research associate. So when my mentor interviewed me, he told me, Usman, what's your goal? I was like getting into residency, to be very frank. So I was very straightforward. So he told me so you applied for a clinical research coordinator position. What's the difference between research associate and clinical research coordinator? I was like, I just want a paid job. So he was very kind enough to tell me, what you are saying in the interview, you are looking for someone who can guide you, who can mentor you. And I don't think so clinical research coordinator position is a good fit for you, because you won't have face time with me, you won't have enough mentorship, and you will be in a lot of other things that are not concerned with residency. So he told me, always apply for what you're looking for. If you want to go ahead in research, yeah, go ahead. But if you want to use this as a bridge to residency, that is, I believe, then you should be in a more kind of a mentorship. Money is not everything. So I know clinical research coordinator, they have like a big pay, right? I haven't been paid well that much, but I know that this wasn't my goal. So I would say that I would share my clinical research experience. Like I came here in November 2020, and I would just enlist what I did, because this is very important. Again, to stress, they are looking for a research person, not for someone for residency. Residency resume is a very different resume as compared to this one, right? So you would say that clinical research experience, even if let's suppose I have worked remotely with Dr. Faz Anwar, and I would say, okay, so I worked under the mentorship of Dr. Faz Anwar, and have, I have kind of learned the basics of data search, how to screen, how to navigate through different components of writing a manuscript, right? So I would, why not? It's I think the problem with IMGs is that they have done so much different things, but they don't know how to write about that. I think the beauty of when I went unmatched last year, and the difference was, so how to write the things you do. That is very important, because let's suppose I was working as a medical officer back in Pakistan. Then how I wrote in my resume this year was primary care physician, because that was what I was doing. Here they are called primary care physician. So they don't know what's a medical officer, right? So we would go ahead, and then I would say, okay, this is my research experience, and then I would elaborate the number of studies. And although this was gastroenterology field, so but they wanted someone with experience. So I would like to mention that, oh, this is, like I was involvement in Louisville, I read this. So here I would share my skill highlights just to recap. Okay, this person has REDCap is a very important component of research system. So I would say that I think it's an open source tool. You can learn it without getting into research. It's, I think, available online. I would share the link, so you can get the online training through YouTube as well. It's a very important tool, and every research setup in US, they have this in their system. So And then there is like other resources, Medidata, that was kind of between different pharmaceutical trials. So it is to use to enter the data, patient data. If you enroll a patient, like let's for a COVID-19 study, you would use this study hub Medidata, and then like I would say that I am have the experience in manuscript preparation. I have have used Epic Cerner, I have used Raveman, and then this was just a kind of a skill set I had in my medical school, but I just put it there. It's fine because this helped me to design the brochure, patient letter for my current study. So this kind of like I was okay. So I have the skill set of graphic designing as well. So why not? I should use it, right? So it kind of reduced the workload, or like paperwork hassle, because they have to send it to marketing department and this and that. So they would definitely prefer someone with extra skill set. It saves time, it saves their energy. And then I would say that, okay, you might USMLE scores are this, and I would say that, okay, so this is a kind of outdated resume, but I would say this is my research publication, and then I would just describe all these research publications. So you would see a lot of publications with Dr. Faz Anwar. So, and then, like I would say that these are I would just don't want to mention their details. So these would be my references. So I believe that references are a very important part. So one of my junior, he was applying for a research position, and the person here in States, he was asking for references. So he wasn't able to produce good quality references. And I believe that this is also important because they would, if they don't know you, if they don't like, maybe I know that's most of the time it's formality, but sometimes they do contact the other person, they do call them and they do email them. So, like this project is very important for me. I want to know how is this person, as a person, how is this person? Does he come like, is he very punctual? What's kind of, like interpersonal skills? So I believe that this is very important, and don't destroy your reputation anywhere wherever you work in the States, because it goes a long way. I believe my mentor, if someone, after 6 or 7 years, if they call or email him, because I will definitely love to enlist him as a reference. So I have worked with him more than a year now. So, and definitely if things are not good with him, his word would matter a lot over me, because reputation is everything in the United States. So this is just a kind of a brief overview of how to go for a letter of intent and how to formulate a research resume. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Naveed, for giving me the opportunity. And yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Akbar. And I think we could have a whole webinar just on how to write letter of intent and research CV. And I think you did a great job of summarizing it. The most important person comes at the end. I'm going to ask a question from Dr. Zain Asad, and also going to introduce him. Dr. Zain Asad is a physician scientist at University of Oklahoma. He has a certain area of interest in atrial fibrillation, cardio-oncology. He's an outcome researcher and leads several research and investigator-initiated clinical trials that got funding from American College of Cardiology. He is a member of American College of Cardiology Early Career Leadership Council. Thank you, Dr. Asad, for being here. And he's also Associate PD for Cardiology Fellowship at University of Oklahoma. I have a question from Dr. Zain Asad, and that can be a topic in itself. Professionalism in research, as a researcher, as a writer, what are certain things that people should be aware of and should not indulge into? So do's and don't do's.
Thank you so much for providing this wonderful platform. So great to see so much participant engagement with lots of questions coming in. I think Usman highlighted something very important early on, that whenever you are trying to develop a collaboration, your first point of contact is just that simple email. And it tells us a lot about yourself when you're sending that email. So spending adequate amount of time with that first point of contact, because that's your first impression, is very important. And at our end, when we are trying to think that are we going to spend our time and energy on someone, few things are very important that immediately shine out through that CV. Because at the end of the day, any research collaboration it's going to be just like how it boils down to how valuable are you going to be to that particular team. So I think with regards to important things in that first letter of intent or communication, we definitely want to know what skills or what value do you bring to that team. That's essentially the first thing they're looking for. Like if I'm already mentoring like 30 or 40 students, adding that 41st student, what unique skill are you bringing to that team? So definitely if you have that unique skill, highlight that into that email. And of course, like any job anywhere, we are definitely looking for what experience you already have and providing some proof of that experience, either in the form of citing your paper or attaching that to the email so that we can review a sample of your writing. That's important. And those kind of things don't need to be very extensive. Those skills could be very small area you are very, very good at. For example, like Usman just highlighted, that it could be as simple as having good skills in graphics designing so that you are able to design a visual abstract or create an illustration for our paper. So I think just paying attention to that communication. Secondly, integrity. In research, integrity is everything. I mean, I cannot overemphasize how important it is. And there are so many different things that come under this big umbrella of creating your integrity. Because I think in today's world, most of these communications, collaborations are going to be happening remotely. So it's even more important to establish your credibility. It could be very simple things like, how much work or timelines you're promising to your mentor or to your whole research team. And are those like realistic promises and expectations you are able to meet, or just one day before your deadlines and timelines, you're going to get that email that I'm not going to be able to, follow through on what I promised. So all those things I think come under the umbrella of integrity. And if you, I don't think, because most of the research currently is happening in very large teams, so nobody should be pressured to, over-promise. It's always good to under-promise and over-deliver on those things. So over a large span of time, it builds trust and it builds your integrity. And, again, small things, being very punctual about those deadlines. Because as most of we operate on very tight timelines in research. And if one team member is unable to follow through on their timelines, it basically delays the whole pack. Another important thing among the do's is, of course, your honesty. Again, in research, it's really, really hard to find situations where, you will be in trouble if you are not being honest. If you can't do something, if you cannot figure it out, or if you put in your best effort and you still don't have an answer, it's okay to be very, very honest and transparent in how you work or how you communicate. I think among the do's, and again comes under the umbrella of professionalism, is having genuine interest in something. Because if you are really genuinely interested in research, it's going to make your life and whoever is mentoring you, their life very, very easy. So again, being honest about your interest. And it's perfectly okay to be upfront and say that I'm using this as a ladder to strengthen my application for residency. But again, that process doesn't have to be painful. You can still enjoy and learn a lot of new things while still staying true to yourself. And again, like hard work and patience, I think they also come under the umbrella of professionalism. It's in research, most things will need patience. So just being very, very realistic about the outcomes, having good acknowledgement that if you are going to start working today, it may take up to 3 months, 6 months, or even up to a year to see some finished products. So just being patient about those things and making sure that we understand that, for your application, there are certain timelines, we have to have finished products. But whenever you're working on research, you are dependent on a big team. You may be 8 or 10 people working towards the same project. Everybody have their own milestones and have their own deadlines. And to some, your deadlines are very important and then they mean a lot, but to others, the overall project or end goal is more important. So I think all those things come under the umbrella of professionalism. And last, and this is like a whole course or a semester worth of knowledge they'll teach you in any master's program, would be ethics in research. There are so many things that come under the umbrella, but I think most of them are too generic for our purposes, but you can always find more resources to learn them, like how to consent patients, what are the rights of patients in research, what are the rights and responsibilities of you as an individual, and what rights and responsibilities your institution has whenever you're conducting research. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asad. And I will come to Dr. Zubair Khan with a question, and then we'll go through Dr. Faz and we're at the end. So I think that was the first question that also popped up in the QA tool too. I'm a beginner. Let's say I'm a medical student in third year, or I graduated. I don't know how to do research. So how can you sort of build your journey? How can you pick a topic? How can you start developing those skills that are needed to be a researcher? Or you don't have to be, a physician scientist, but just be a scholar. So if you can sort of share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Naveed, for inviting me. Indeed, it is an honor. All of you are like prolific researchers. I am just a student of research, I would say. So like coming back to your question about like if you are a beginner, then how you should get started. I think all of us have gone through this journey. So I think first you should try, as a beginner, you should try and go for a low hanging fruits, like trying to write a case report, trying to write like a systematic review, trying to, so that just you get started, and then you show your aptitude, and also you build your scientific writing skills by doing that. And I think when you are in a medical school, you can always, when you are rotating in the wards, or if you have finished the medical school and you are pursuing USMLE, you can reach out to your seniors who are residents and ask them if they can, involve you in writing some case reports so that you can get started with some of the basic ideas of the research. And then from there on, you can whichever is your area of interest, if you're applying for internal medicine residency, you can try to reach out to the people in different universities or in academic settings, and then ask them if you can be involved in research, whether these are like systematic review or meta-analysis. They can be retrospective studies. Sometimes like the IRB based studies, it's not easy to get enrolled like in IRB based studies, because you have to go through the whole process, and if you're not affiliated with the institution, then it becomes a little bit cumbersome. But at least I think the first step, or from where you can start, is like try to write some case reports, go for systematic review, meta-analysis, build some data analysis skills. That's where I think you can get started, and from there on the journey can continue. Dr. Naveed, do you have any other question, follow up to that?
Yeah, so just a follow-up question. So let's say, you want to work on a review article. How can you pick a topic that can get published too? So can you share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. So it depends, like what is your area of interest. If you are like applying for internal medicine residency, then any subspecialty of internal medicine residency, you can pick an article. But I think when you are coming out of medical school and then just have finished USMLE, you need some guidance. I think Irbaz was going to speak about the role of mentor and being a good mentee. I don't know whether he's here yet or no, but I think it's very important to find a good mentor who can guide you and who can help you in topic selection as well, who can like also help you in focusing on an area in research as well. Just that I would just like, this is just like a general advice to all the new beginners who are interested in research. They need, and Zan has also highlighted on that, you need to have some kind of skill which like stands you apart from the other people. That's very important. Like if you know SAS, if you know R, if you know Stata, then that would be something that would be of added advantage, and that will you know kind of like make you a more preferable candidate for the research team. Because and even if you cannot do that, still if you have a good scientific writing skills, if you can do data collection, that as well. But some kind of data analytics, I think, is very important. That skill in your CV is very important. And I just came back from Digestive Disease Week. Something else which is very much coming into the field of medicine is artificial intelligence. So if you can learn machine learning or artificial intelligence, and you don't have to do any kind of professional degree nowadays, there are so many Coursera courses, or even there are like other avenues where you can just get the basics and you know get the know-how of that can also help. So you know, if you know these kind of skills, that will make you you know a kind of a unique candidate for a research associate position or a research coordinator position. So that's what I would suggest to all the beginners, to have something in their CV. And it's not possible like when you are beginning a research that you will straight ahead go with the, you will like start a trial, or you will you know start a research will be a practice changing research. You will start with some low hanging fruits, you will catch them, and then you will you know go up the ladder, and then you can be like Dr. Asad or Dr. Anwar doing the practice changing research.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zubair Khan. And I kept Dr. Anwar for the last, so he can sort of synthesize things, at the end too. But he has some really, I have heard him in the past. He has really practical suggestions how to actually, let's say, if I have never written, any sort of manuscript, and when it comes to scholarly writing, it is sort of different sort of writing. So how can you develop those skills where you can work on manuscript writing? So Dr. Anwar, mic is yours.
Well, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And it's always a pleasure to talk about this topic. It's my passion. And I'm the guy who is going to tell you, you can do it. You are already successful being a medical student, being in the field, being a young graduate. So you're already successful. What you're trying to do is now become more skillful and achieve more wonderful things in your life. And you really need to have a balanced portfolio. If you are practicing here in USA, in Europe, in Asia, anywhere you do to provide the patient with the excellence, you really have to have some additional skills these days, including your teaching, scholarly work, publish, innovation, all that is very important at this time. So I will say, you have to, first of all, think about what is your passion, what is your area of interest. And when I ask this question, I will say 90% of the students are young graduate fail to tell me what is there. They say, whatever you have, we are willing to work. Put us in a group. We want to publish. That's not how it should be. I started with Irbaz about 13 years ago, and he wanted to do cardiology, and I changed his passion. He may not give me credit for that, but we converted him from cardiology to oncology. But you need to start with some passion. And that passion could be, I'm not sure, but I want to do something about internal medicine. And in internal medicine, you can pick and choose an area of just the primary care, start with diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol. And then you come up with some idea, some focus, So where do the ideas come from? You go to clinic, you see a patient. This is a patient, it's difficult to treat hypertension. It's difficult to treat diabetes. There are some new drugs which are coming on board, and you don't know, your colleagues don't know about these drugs, what led to their approval, and what's in the pipeline for the next 5 years. So I can bet each one of you, if you want to have that idea in mind about any disease, what's the innovation in a particular field in the last 5 years and where the field will be in the next 5 years, you can write a good education review. So start with an idea. Idea come from your clinic. Idea may come from you discuss a case with your colleague. You presented a case in the physician board or on a tumor board, or you talk to a mentor, and the mentor is going to tell you, I want to develop this. Someone reached out, they want me to write this. So maybe mentor already have a list of ideas. Or if you're working in a lab, you can talk to the lab colleagues and come up with an idea. And start very simple and humble beginning. We talked about starting with just writing few paragraphs as a case report, or you have 3 cases, 4 cases, unique cases, educational cases, start with case series. If you have a good chest x-ray, good CAT scan, start with an image report. Image report can be written in 1 day. And it takes us 3 months to maybe a year to publish any manuscript. So just have patience, but write really good information. It need to have an angle. You can't just report things. You have to have an angle, what's new, what is educational, and why you want to share that with the bigger stage. And then it's important to have those skills. And it could be as simple as using Microsoft Word, Excel, how to do data extraction, some statistics program. I personally am trying to do an artificial intelligence course. One of the colleagues designed a course. It's called Artificial Intelligence for Health Professionals. It's free course. It's 6 hours. Learn something. Instead of spending time on social media, my suggestion to the youth will be to use all that social media for good learning. There's so much tremendous amount of good stuff available out there. And so once you have an idea, start with the hypothesis. Is your hypothesis about education, about what's being discovered these days, the prediction of the future? And just start with developing 1 paragraph. And, if you are working with 2-3 people, make a small group. If you are working back home, you have internal medicine resident, surgical resident, you have a subspecialty interest, then find 2-3 people. Work with 5 people, never work alone. That's my strategy, never work alone. Always have people. So that way, if you are working with 5 people, all you have to do is 1/5 of the work and the other people will collaborate. So I think I'm close to my allotted 5 minutes. I'll take a pause here. Any questions?
No, please, if you still have something to share, please continue to go on. We'll take questions at the end.
Sure. So I think I want to tell the students, young doctors, that you are not just being scored on how much score did you got. You're being scored on, did you have some teaching potential? What volunteer work have you done? What extracurricular activities you are doing? Do you have any leadership skills? Do you have any publication scholarly skills? How is your communication skills? Are you a team player or not? If you just say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, instead of that, you say, I am working with a group. And as a group, we're teaching, we're learning, and we are improving our knowledge base. And as a group, your productivity will be multiplied, multiple folds. So I think there are multiple type of projects, starting with the very simple image report, case series, educational review, letter to the editor. Think about writing something new for the local newspaper. Think about writing something new for the local magazines. Meta-analysis, maybe you can do it 6 months later, but start with very simple. There's new drugs coming out. It's for the management of a very common condition. And then the general publics need to know about that. Why not start writing a newspaper article? Many people who write for newspapers may not be professionals. They may not know how to decode all that information. So I'll say just start with something that you're passionate about and try to connect with a group, try to find a mentor, and you have to do it. If you connect with me, I cannot do it for you. None of us can do it for you. You have to do it. But you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Anwar. And since we are already into 45 minutes, let's answer some questions. I think that one question that came across, and I think one of the panelists sort of answered that, I want to, for example, I want to, write something on bipolar disorder and the role of lithium, but it is already, done. So how to find, something that you can work on, and it's open to everyone, anyone can answer, how to find that area that, we can still explore and still, work on. So anyone can answer that question.
So I think like those, in my experience, good research questions at the stage where most of our attendees are going to be hard to find. So to develop good research questions, you will need your mentors, clinicians who are seeing patients every day, who know what are the knowledge gaps or what are the unknowns in clinical medicine, which we can target. But if you have, let's say, practiced medicine already in your home country or currently practicing and you are interested in research, always go back to your clinical practice guidelines. I can talk about cardiology. Anything that is a grade 2A, grade 2B recommendation, or that is an expert consensus, those are areas open for research, because guidelines don't come out every year. They come out every 4, 5, 6 years. And in that span of time, a lot of more data has accumulated. So what you can do is look at those particular areas that have grade 2A or grade 2B guidelines or only expert consensus, see what evidence those guidelines are based on, do your updated search and see what is updated, and then you can use that overall data to either perform a systematic review or address that in any other study design.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to share their thoughts?
I will just add one like just adding to the points that Zain has discussed. Like I think last year, Usman made a WhatsApp group with me for the people who were like interested in GI, and all I did was just gave them the ideas, because like I am working as a clinician, so the things that I noticed in clinical practice, and I just give them ideas. Okay, you can probably do a systematic review or meta-analysis on these topics, and the group came up with few of the abstracts and few of the publications on that. So I think it's very important, because if you are not practicing medicine, sometimes you are or in that specialty, then you may not be able to come up with a very good idea, because once you are a clinician, you see patients daily, then you sometimes are able to identify the knowledge gaps. Or something else that the other beginners can do is also try to read like scientific journals, and in that way also they can come up with ideas, like reading the articles, the research which is being published. That is also very important. If you are genuinely interested in research, then do subscribe to like the journals or try to read the scientific articles as well. That will also help in your journey of research.
Dr. Anwar?
Yeah, on same lines, it's very common for me to see that if I propose a topic and it's a new person, new mentee, very next day will email me that, oh, this was published 3 years ago. What else to do? And, when I suggest an article, I know that there are some gaps in the practice and there is new data. There may be some controversy about the recommendation. And each topic, you may not realize, each topic has a focus. It either has a focus about diagnosis, pathophysiology, treatment outcome, toxicity, differential diagnosis. And the previous article, which was published a few years ago, had a different focus. Even if there's the exact same data, which is truly not the case, because in 3 years, it could be 360-degree difference in recommendations. Even if the exact same data, you can always find a slightly different focus, read between the lines, come up with a different interference, come up with a different recommendation about the topic. Thank you.
Thank you. So Dr. Arbaz bin Riaz has joined us. Thank you, Dr. Arbaz bin Riaz, for joining us. I think he got busy. So, I want to really ask an important question, Dr. Riaz, and if you roughly can answer it, maybe this is the whole topic, maybe in 2 to 3 minutes, how to find a mentor, how to be a good mentee. So can you share your thoughts on that?
First of all, my apologies for being late. I was actually traveling and I mixed the time zones. I should not have done that, but apologies again. I mean, this is a great question. I think finding a mentor is probably the hardest thing in your career. Uh, my feeling is that all the big careers, in a way, are built by mentors. It is just incredibly important to have mentors. And one, I'll come to your question, which is more specific on how to find a mentor. I just want to emphasize a little bit about the importance of mentorship, which can go under recognized. I think if I look at whole of all of this panel, I have learned so many things from all of you in so many ways. But specifically, Dr. Anwar is here. He has been my mentor for now, like I don't know, 10 years now.
It's 13 years.
13 years, yeah. So it's been a long time. So one of the key points is you meet a lot of people along the way. Some of them will become your lifelong mentor. So build very good relationships. So these things go a really long way. The reason why I say this is, I have applied for so many things in my life throughout my career, and I have have had a relationship with Dr. Anwar that, sometimes you need things at the last moment. Then you really go to your mentors who you have worked with for last 10 years, 12 years, 5 years. So relationships become really, really important. So the first point I would like to emphasize is that once you find a good mentor, stick with them. Even when you switch specialities, even when you move on, stay in contact, call maybe a month or so, tell them how you're doing, ask for advice. So stick with your mentors. Mentors is not one person. They're generally a group of people who mentor you in different ways. So that's number one. Number two, I think finding good mentors is a tremendous amount of effort and obviously a little bit of luck as well. But the process is the same as most other things. Trying, and give process a chance. Good mentors, you may not see their mentorship in the first instance. You just have to stick with them, learn what they have to offer, and also work really hard alongside and be gentle, kind, a good person, so that they can also see that their time is worth investing. So when you're shopping around for mentors, persist, give them time, focus. While I just said that there could be many mentors, but for your content expertise and working with a team, my strong bias is towards working with one team. Then the mentor can take ownership. They can really say, this is my mentee. I have to do something for them, over the time. And then your mentor can introduce you to different mentors as well. So you eventually build a mentorship team, but at a given time, you should really focus with working with one team for academic content. Finding mentorship is if for those of you who are doing residencies and fellowships, it's always best to have the mentor at your own institution where you can meet with them physically, where you can go for a coffee, where you can build those relationships. So meet a lot of people, and then you eventually find somebody who clicks in terms of their expertise and as well as their style of mentoring. But now it's a global world. You reach out to people. You generally just have one shot when you're reaching out at people. So you really have to be very, very thoughtful. So my preference would always be not reaching like 1,200 people in a day, sending mass emails. I would really research a person for weeks before I would send one email. I would know everything about their work. I would try to learn about their mentees. I would learn about their team. So when they read your email, most of the times when my team is full and really can't take anyone, once in a while I get an email which is so well researched and which is so well written that then I am just forced to say, I don't have a position yet. Why don't we chat? And when we chat, sometimes they're so impressive that, I end up doing something. I refer to Dr. Anwar. I refer to Dr. Asad here. I refer to Zubair, So we all have a network. So even if we don't have a spot, if you're really good, if you're put in the hard work, we might be able to recommend you to someone else who may have a spot. So I guess a lot of good research, be nice, be kind when trying to find a mentor. And once you find a mentor, build really good relationships. I think these go along with the biggest asset of my life has been my mentors and my colleagues and my academic life, I would say. And those don't happen overnight. It's a process of years. Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
will
Dr.
just,
Sorry,
I
go
will just, I will just add one thing that there was a presentation by Dr. Amy Oxentenko. She was the chair of medicine at University of Arizona, Phoenix. So I just remember one slide from her presentation about the role of mentors. So she said that there is a difference between a mentor and a sponsor. Sponsor shows doors to you, and mentor opens the door for you. So that's very important. Like just adding to the points that Irbaz mentioned, like it's very important to find a good mentor, because the good mentors can open the doors for you. Many people can show you the doors, but there are only few people who can open the doors for you.
Thank you. Dr. Anwar has raised his hand, but well, you answered that question, Dr. Anwar. There's a question for you. The AI course that you mentioned, can you also name that course while you answer this question?
So I will share the link for that course with Usman, and if you guys can reach out to him. I don't exactly remember that course exact name, but I will share that. I just want to comment on the mentorship. I personally looking for mentors. I personally reach out to mentors. We need to have a team of mentors. There will be one mentor who can help you how to relax in your work and professional life and strike a balance between your personal life. There could be a mentor who can guide you how you can go from an assistant to associate professor, an associate to the full professor. There may be another mentor who can tell you how to open a new trial. There may be another mentor who can tell you about another dimension. So you need to have really a trustworthy, able mentors. The mistake I see is a young graduate thinks the person who is 1 or 2 or even 3 years senior is the ultimate mentor, and whatever they tell them is the ultimate best advice, which is absolutely wrong approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
I want to just add one comment here and share my experience in terms of what Dr. Faiz Bhai mentioned, Dr. Anwar mentioned. I was at University of Arizona, and so was he. I was a resident, and Dr. Anwar was a consultant. So, and it was a kind of, you can say that in my second year of residency, or like early third year, I really questioning. I always wanted to do cardiology. I really started questioning what I really want in life. At that point, and I had like 150 conversations with people and like about what is good and what is bad for my particular situation. How do I think about choosing, reshaping my career? And Dr. Anwar was willing to talk to me. I know 100 times. So when you find people like that, you have to learn value. You have to learn to value those people as well. Mentorship is a thankless job, and I guess mentors deserve some appreciation. So and I often see that, I have lots of now colleagues who are brilliant mentors. There's some mentees really value their mentors. They are vocal about it. They give them respect publicly. They talk about them. They really make sure that just like mentors taking care of them, they're also talking about the value of their mentorship. Then there are other mentees who are just, which is also okay, but they were just quieter. They don't really appreciate the mentorship they're getting. So mentorship is a thankless job. Once you have a good mentor, whoever that person is, maybe more than one person, but appreciate them because it keeps them going. There is no extra benefit for mentoring people, like which is direct benefit to the career. But the real benefit is your feedback, how you appreciate, how you value that time. So I would just suggest that be thoughtful, because, as I just mentioned, that Dr. Anwar has been tremendously kind with me. And if I don't appreciate that, it's just not good of me.
Well, thank you, Abbas. We don't want this to be our propaganda campaign here. And I found out the course I'm doing is I did 2 sessions so far, www.ai for healthcare.org. This is designed by a colleague who was a leukemia faculty, Dr. Aziz Naza, who was working with us, and then he has since changed his job and he's now working in the other dimension. But this is something which I, in addition to 4 other colleagues, committed to spend 6 hours and start at least learning the basic of AI. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anwar. And, I have shared the Twitter handles for all of our panelists. You are welcome to follow them and reach out to them. Dr. Asad, I know you raised your hand. I also have a question for you. So why don't you share your thoughts first, and then I will ask you the question.
I think in the chat and in questions, a lot of people are asking like how to approach mentors and how to get involved with research networks. I think like even at my stage, if I send some very, very generic emails to multiple people, they will be hard to, mentor me. I think the more specific you are in being very upfront in communicating in the first 2 or 3 lines of that email or letter of intent, what skills do you already possess? What do you bring to the table? And how this is going to be a mutually beneficial relationship. I think that are going to increase your odds of getting a good response from your mentors, because I know I've been at the other end where you are sending 1,200 emails a day and not getting any yes. So I think it's good to develop some skills that you can say that, okay, I can add value to your research project or your team with this specific skill.
Thank you, Dr. Asad. And another thing that I'm going to do is Dr. Asad, Dr. Akbar has shared numerous resources, and I think Dr. Khan also did. So I will I will compile those resources. I will share this on our Apna YPC Facebook group. So just follow that. I think there are a lot of resources that are available out there. Dr. Numera Jamshed also has joined. She was the YPC chair before me. Numera, before I come to you, I think I had another question, so let me not forget that. So there's just a operational question. Will this recording will be available on YouTube? We are recording it, but it's also live streamed on the Apna YouTube page or channel, so it's always accessible. Dr. Riaz, I have a question for you. So what is the difference, and I think multiple people has asked this question, what is the difference between a research fellow, research associate, and research coordinator?
I think different institutions may have different definitions of that. At least at my institution, you said research fellow, research trainee, and research coordinator, right?
Research fellow, research associate, and research coordinator.
So research coordinator is simple. A research coordinator is an administrative position, and the job of a research coordinator is to coordinate different aspects of research. They are mostly focused towards clinical trial administration, like consenting patients, putting the data together. So the expectation of that job for most part should not be publications. It should be just you are paid to do a certain job and you show up, you do the job, and you're kind of done. But obviously there are some research coordinators who go an extra mile and they work hard and also publish. Research associate and research fellows can be used interchangeably. Research fellows are often hired for a specific job, a specific project, I would say. At least at my institution, they are generally paid positions. The fellow is a term which designates that you are going to have a specific job which is paid, and if you're an international graduate, you will also have a visa sponsorship. There's another term that I will say. In our institution, we have research trainees, which are also like research fellows in terms of what they do. It's a training position, but they're not paid. So research associate, what at least the way we think about it, these are people who are already trained and now they have long-term research positions. So they are the people who will stay at the institution maybe for a research program for 4 or 5 years or 3 years. So it's more of a long-term position with some prior training. But all of these can be used interchangeably one way or the other, what I've learned throughout my career. But it's the formal definitions were just what I mentioned.
Thank you. Dr. Akbar has raised his hand. So Usman, do you want to say something?
Yes. I'm working as a research associate. So as Dr. Riaz mentioned that there is kind of a gray zone between different positions because so I was working as a clinical research coordinator at University of Louisville. So as Dr. Riaz mentioned, it's an administrative post. I would say that regarding residency, as this webinar is directed towards residency. I would say that prefer a research fellow or research associate. First, get any position what you can to get into the system. But once you are in the system, in order to excel as a bridge to residency, I would say go for research associate or research fellow or postdoc, because I believe that this will get you enough mentorship and enough face time with your mentor. And as compared to research coordinator, which is a kind of a administrative post.
Thank you. I would go to Dr. Numaira Jamshed. She raised her hand. Do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. A wonderful panel of experts, and I actually have a question. So as I think Dr. Asad had mentioned about being very specific in your email or communication, how should Pakistani graduates do that if they don't have the background? Most of them are reaching out to us to start everything from scratch. So could you comment a little bit on that as to how they should reach out to people who do research?
I will punt that question to Dr. Anwar.
This is a very good question. So very commonly we get an email, someone really is passionate and want to do things which looks great on CV, but they don't have skills to do it. So as part of our solution over the years, we have put together some educational resources, some skill building resources. Just go to the internet and search some training material, how to write a simple case report. There's a lot of material already out there. So we have accumulated all that skill building, basic skill building stuff. And if someone reaches out to our group, we just email them all those resources. And this is not my property or our property. You guys, students, can share with the other friends and other colleagues, and that's where to build the skills. If you really want to do a particular area of interest, you can also Google a lot of things these days and find many wonderful resources are out there. So I will say, when you get a resource email with all these resources, instead of sending us the email very next day, now give us a topic, spend 15 days, 20 days, go through all those videos, resources, because these are the skills which will be useful for you for the rest of your life. I know you are in a hurry to just publish something, but that's not going to work without the skills. So skill building is very important. I wish we have a mechanism of teaching these students early on. And now students back home are getting wiser and getting more aware, and they are getting engaged at an earlier stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Riaz, you raised your hand.
I think Dr. Zain and Dr. Anwar has made some very good points. As far as I'm concerned, I'm always looking for different kind of mix in my team. One, obviously, it is really important for somebody who's a graduate to, or somebody who's looking for a research fellowship position to have research skill sets. And you need to demonstrate that you have done some preliminary work, effort to prove that when you're in the team, you will gel well. So this is great, but I also recognize that some of the people will not have the important and necessary background for doing research. What I personally really value is a lot of research about my work and my team, and then adding some comment about, like Zan said, how will you fit well in the team? How can you add value? Sometimes just adding value could just be fitting well in the team. So if you have done a lot of research about what I do, about what my team is, if you have preferably talked to some of those members already working with me, there's a way for you to find out and then kind of, if I'm doing, let's say, ABC kind of research, bioinformatics research, machine learning research, then you make a comment about what you have done. Even you may not be perfect, you may not have completed a course, but how you're thinking about, getting to that, But it's, I think, researching, being short and respectful, coming to the point quickly, is really important. Sometimes I'm okay with, especially when my motivation is to have somebody who's a beginner and I want to be part of that process and teaching them. I'm okay with receiving those emails as long as they're well researched and they've spent their time in finding out what I do.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz. We'll take one last question from Dr. Kumar. And I have a hard stop at 12:15. Kumar, do you, I don't know your, complete name. So if you want to open your mic and ask your question. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, go ahead. I think you accidentally muted yourself again. So while he unmutes himself, for the resources and how to find those courses about manuscript writing, data analysis, I will compile the list and I will share with the group. We'll go from there. I have them saved in the chat and I will share with all of our panelists before we go forward. There are a lot of questions that are asked that, Usman Ali Akbar has answered in his pre-recorded presentation. So I would recommend, if you have not watched it, please go back and watch that presentation. For me, I know that Dr. Anwar has raised his hand. I think, getting those courses is the first step in the process. And then the next step is that you need to make a team and find mentors. And you don't have to limit yourself to, Apna diaspora or Pakistani physicians. If you have an area of interest, go to PubMed and see who has been working on this topic recently and send them emails, nice emails, be thankful, and see if they will lend you an opportunity to work with them. And then, just be a good mentee, try to learn. A lot of time, there is so much emphasis, and this happens a lot, and I think it happens to our panelists too. And it's okay. It's okay. But, you need to be clear about your intentions, that I'm only doing this for residency. And the moment I'm matched, I'm gonna move on or change my focus. In this process, I think there is a lot of emphasis on authorship ranks, where I'm going to get myself in the authorship ranks, how many publications I'm going to get. And it's important to be productive and make sure that you get published, but have an attitude of a learner. You are a learner in the science and in the medicine. The publications are a byproduct, conference presentation are byproduct. So, and your mentor or your team leader, if they're working with you, if you have a good relationship with them, they will make sure that you're successful. So that's my sort of, answering few questions. Dr. Anwar, you, and then Kumar, you, and then we'll wrap up the session.
So I will share all the resources we have with you, Dr. Sadek, and feel free to share those resources. Number two, I just want to make a comment. There may be some candidates out there who are not very fresh candidate. They may be already in the US, they may be already national here. And I see a lot of females, they get married, come here, get busy. And if they want to go back, they should consider doing an additional degree, a master's degree, an MPH degree. I give full credit to Airbaz for doing a master's degree and an internal medicine residency, hemo medicine, and a PhD degree, and some dedicated additional master level training again. And this is all, with busy professional and family life. So be ready to be that person who is willing to invest in your growth. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, be aware of your goals. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to be on physician scientist track like Dr. Asad and Dr. Baz bin Riaz are? And, because in physician scientist track, that's where you're going to be spending most of your time, 70, 80% of your time is going to be towards research, and those tools can be really helpful. There was just a quick question that whether research published in Pakistani medical journals, does it hold value into residency? I think as long as it is PubMed index in a credible database, it does help. Dr. Asad, someone asked a question, and maybe Arbaz can also jump in. Physician scientist track, what does that mean? What does that include? So if you can share your eyes, and then we'll wrap up the session.
I think that's more applicable at our stage, where we have already finished our clinical training, whatever we wanted to do, and now we are deciding whether we are spending 100% of our time doing clinical medicine or splitting that time equally between research and clinical, or research, clinical, and education. So if we are spending majority or at least half of our time doing clinical research and not only publishing, actively applying for grants, seeking that funding, maintaining either like a wet or dry lab, that would be a physician scientist pathway. At training stage, I think there are certain pathways where along with your residency and fellowship, some research training can be built in, but most of those pathways, to my knowledge, are not applicable if you are on a visa.
Thank you. And just to inform everyone, on June 24th and 5th, and then I think it's July last weekend, Apna Merit and Apna YPC will be holding some workshop on data analysis. It's going to be scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it will be 6 in Pakistan. So you can, learn some basic data analysis skills, but, the most important thing is, what do you do with that data analysis skills? The course is done. Where you're going to take it, that's up to you. I will give a chance to all the panelists if they want to say any last moment things. I will go with Dr. Riaz, then Dr. Akbar, and then for rest of the panelists.
I'll just say one thing about, we had a lot of discussion about AI. I'm sorry I missed initial part of that, and there are a lot of AI courses out there. Personally, this may be, this may be the advice that you may not have, that may be opposite to what you have heard throughout this discussion. So my apologies if this contradicts with any of the advice you have got so far. I think doing AI is really, 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 really hard. You need to have very good insights about the methods, the questions that are answerable. So I would not spend too much time at this stage trying to learn about if I have time, I would not focus my time on learning machine learning courses as the first starting course. I would focus more on fundamentals of statistics, fundamentals of epi, For learning machine learning, you need to have 4 or 5 basic skill sets. You need to be very good in maths, linear algebra, calculus. You need to know introductory statistics, regression. You also need to have a bit of computer science background, intro to computer science, intro to algorithms, intro to programming. So all of those are fundamental before you can even start thinking about a machine learning project. Then you need to have lots of big data to do machine learning projects. So I would say that if you really want to do machine learning, you have to find somebody who does machine learning and then work with them, and then know that this is going to be a process of 2 to 3 years, to be honest, before you will get a real first machine learning project out, which is an impactful and practice-changing one. So I guess what I'm saying is that there has to be a method in when you approach a certain type of research. It's just taking one-off course is probably not going to be helpful. So always start with basic courses before you go to the more advanced courses.
Thank you. Kumar, do you want to ask your question quickly, 15 seconds, and then one of the panelists would answer them while they share the last minute thoughts? Unmute yourself, please, if you have not. Okay. Usman?
Yes. So there was a question in the chat about there was some medical student who has done step 1 in 4th year and was asking, so I believe there is I think I've shared my thoughts in the video as well. There is a balance that is kind of required for you to get matched. Not everything is research, not everything is observership, not everything is score. So there should be a balance. So I would say that year of graduation is one of the significant and most impactful factor in for you to getting matched into residency. So if you are done with your exams, if you have the scores, and if you have, like I would say that a decent number of publication, you will land in a very good program. So don't compromise your exam. I have worked with many students from Pakistan, and they are doing a lot of research. But when I ask them, so when are you taking your step one? They do, oh, we are preparing for it. I keep telling them that I'm a graduate of 2017. I know how hard it is for me to getting matched into a very good program. So I know the hurdles, because once you are, there are some kind of a fixed factors that you cannot change. Your scores cannot be changed. Your year of graduation cannot be changed. You can publish a lot, but please get done with your exam first and foremost. Step 3 is more, kind of getting important day by day. So get done with your exams. That's research is definitely important, but get done with the base kind of line and then go ahead with it.
Thank you. And let's go to Dr. Asad and see if he wants to say anything. And Zen, if you can also mention, since you have done MPH for older graduates from residency application perspective, while you share your last minute thoughts.
I'll try to make it very quick. I think like the route for like MPH or MS in clinical and translational research, in my opinion, that's only going to be relevant to you if you want to focus on research as your long-term career goal. I think in the short term, it's going to be very, very hard. It's a huge time commitment. These days, it's going to be extremely, extremely expensive. So unless you think you're going to be using that knowledge for the rest of your life, I would not recommend somebody. I've shared a bunch of, short resources which can adequately equip you to carry out some meaningful research that is more than adequate at your stage.
Yeah, and I think MPH have a value for an older graduate if you feel like you're gonna have really hard time to match, and MPH can also provide you an alternative career path. So in that case, I would suggest do MPH. Otherwise, you may want to talk with your mentors and see what's the missing thing, or what are the missing things that you can do. I did MPH from low to mid-tier university. It costed me $30,000 to $40,000 and significant amount of time and sacrifice and other things. Let's see, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, I just would quickly, to wrap up, I would say just be patient, be persistent, be ready to be part of the process, and because it takes time, there are no shortcuts in this process. So just follow the process, be ready to sacrifice, and you will achieve what you want to get.
Thank you. Dr. Anwar, one question to you that was asked, and I think that was a little bit unique question, and while you share your thoughts, what's the value of number of authors in publication, which often restricts team and quality work? So too many authors, too little authors, thoughts, and then your last minute thoughts.
Yeah, I think the project for the beginners generally should not have more than 5 to 7 authors. If there are 20 authors and you're writing an educational review, then everyone knows that, probably 1 or 2 people or 4 people worked hard and the other people are just friends sitting there. And it'll be difficult for you to justify if you actually did not work on that project. So I will say, and then, we have New England Journal papers where there are 100 authors because there were national and international collaborations. So it depends on the project. And in the end, I want to say you guys are more talented than you think. If I can do it, you can do it 10 times more. And so just stay positive, work hard, wake up maybe an hour, 2 hours early. And so that will give you an uninterrupted 2 hours in your life, and that invest into your skill building and invest into your manuscript writing and invest into, understanding and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With this, we're gonna close our session. I will appreciate all the attendees for joining and asking a lot of questions. There are a lot of unanswered questions. We'll see if we can create a chat on our Apna YPC group page and we can answer that. I want to thank you, Dr. Faz Anwar, for joining us, Dr. Zubair Khan, Dr. Zain Asad, Dr. Arbaz bin Riyaz, Dr. Usman Ali Akbar. It was a illuminating discussion, very comprehensive, and there is a lot more to learn. Just a last minute note for everyone, Apna YPC, Apna Merit, and we are trying to find some other collaborators. We're going to do a basic data analysis workshop. It would be 4 webinars, June 24th, June 25th, July 29th, July 30th. All of them would be scheduled at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that would be 6 p.m. Pakistani time. We'll share the registration links on Apna YPC social media platform. With this, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day.